Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday, May the 15th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And another nice rally today, big rally actually. And we did make a new high today. So if this is indeed a break of the original trend line, whether this was the correct one or they're both correct, we do have a new high in place, and we are well into the overbought territory. Um, doesn't mean we can't go higher here, but I would expect that we're probably going to see um, a correction of some kind here soon. We'll just have to see what happens. I mean, I could be wrong. We could go much higher. Sometimes you'll get two big legs up to a new high, so we could see another leg up. Who knows? This market's just crazy. The volume today in the afternoon was just really low. You know, usually that's when they make all the big moves, when the volume's real light later in the afternoon. And you'll see when we get over to the chart, the volume was relatively low today. So especially late in the afternoon there. So it's just kind of odd. But anyway, there it is. Big rally day. Let's flip over, take a look at the 2000 tick chart, and we'll go through the trades. But you can see not many bars here after 230. Really interesting that the volume is that low because that's usually when they move the market the most. But anyway, it is what it is, and you can see we had this big move up here. I think that there's another channel in here. There might even, I even tried to get one off of here that looks pretty good as well. So this one may be more like this. Um, so you might have seen it like that. I think you're okay either way you draw that. I ended up drawing it the from here, the shorter one, because I felt like that's where it started from. But if you drew it this way, I mean, it looked like a spike in channel somewhat to me. So either way you saw it, I think you're fine. Um, Also, we had the 7:30 news, so you had to kind of be flat here early on. Had a big move up real quick, and then it pretty much went sideways for a bit and kind of consolidated that move, and then we took off with this really strong trend here. And we did get a break and a couple of swings to a new high. It looked like it was going to sell off, and then we corrected from there. We got a little two-legged correction here, and we took off and went into another channel here. So that's the way I drew it and the way I saw it. I generally don't draw your retest trend channels because it's usually a couple of swings up or so, but you might have even drawn. It wouldn't have hurt if you drew this. It doesn't hurt if you do draw them, but they don't always play out. I think in this case, this one, if you drew it from down here like so, you can see it still gets a break, move to a new high. It looks like it's going to correct, and then suddenly it takes off and you get another channel there. So that's how I saw that. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades, and you can see the 7:30 news here really shot up. Um, and then, of course, we had this two-legged correction here. I just traded this as a lower high to trade it back to the EMA there. And it looked like it was going to keep going lower, and then you get this. You got to you could have drawn this. I mean, that's really the original trend. Then you get a break and a couple of swings down, and so I traded this just as you had your second entry that failed, and it trapped people. And so if it breaks higher there, it's probably going to go higher. So that's basically a trap right there. Um, you can't really call that a second entry because the second entry triggered here. Um, and I didn't like the second entry because we pushed through the EMA, but when we came back real quickly like that, you clearly got your break and a couple of swings and then reversed. And then you get a trend up with a break, a new high, and then a trend down with a break, a new low. another trend up with a break and new high. So it just kept working there, and you just keep working those short-term trends. But after the two legs up here, we didn't really get a chance to go short. But then it bounces here, and there's clearly a triple test there. And this is I treat this is not a leg down. This is just congestion. So there's one leg down, and then we tried to go higher, and then we tried to go lower again. And so that's a second entry long by the counts. And so I like going long right there. And this is a great example of why we go for 4 ticks. Because if you went for one more tick there, you wouldn't have got it, and you'd have got stopped out only to watch it go exactly where you thought it was going to go. So this is a second entry long. It's also a triple test there, and that's another reason I liked it. We bounced a couple more times, but by this time it's too congested. You don't really get a good signal bar either. But it takes off. You get your break, move to a new high, and you actually get a second entry off of when it breaks lower here. I wouldn't trade this as any engulfing bar. I'd wait till this closes. And you couldn't enter till this did close. But then that's a big bearish bar. And I like going short one tick below that if it breaks lower, which it did. And then you get a break here and a couple of swings to a new low. And then you're just chopping sideways again. You do get a little breakout pullback here, but it's so close to the EMA. It's still within the small range there, tight congestion or whatever you want to call it. So I didn't like it. You might actually have moved this up you could have moved it up right there and it still fits. So I still think you're in the range there. I don't like taking that trade. It takes off, and then you get a close outside and a move to a new high, and then you're correcting again. But notice you get a first entry and then a second entry, and then this breaks lower by one tick and turns around and fails and goes out the other side instantly. I like trading that on the engulfing bar, or you can wait till it closes. Because that's so bearish with that one tick, it's probably going to trap people. And it takes on off, and then it's just working sideways. I didn't mark this one because it's still in that tight congestion range right there. There is a triple test, and it does confirm this trend line here. And so that's really tempting, but because it's still within the range, I just think you have to skip it. This trend line is probably going to win out, but I think you have to wait on a higher low here, and you just don't get it. Prices move too far. But they just keep going, and they don't come back and check up and test this or anything. So that's when you realize this is probably a pretty strong trend here. But notice you get a first entry, and then it tries to go higher, and then you get a second entry, and that fails. So that's kind of a continuation pattern. And I like that. It's a little bit of a trap. It's a little breakout pullback trap over this high right here as well. And because we got such a strong trend, I think you have to take that one. And it's pretty obvious this is a fairly strong trend at this point. You got all these little bars with the dojis and very shallow corrections. Here's another one. You can't get back to the trend line. But do notice that we start coming up short here. And because somebody asked me, I think they went long right here. But you can see the congestion. And the fact that we just came off we didn't quite get to the high 3 times there, and then came up way short here. There's a good chance we're going to get a break here. So be careful on this one. You want a really good setup. And that's tempting. I'm sure the trader that contacted me is probably not the only one that got fooled here, because this was looking like a really strong trend. But the real clues are that we're starting to, these 3 pushes and then one more and comes up short. Good bit right there. You can see how much difference there is, and the fact that you got 1, 2, 3 bars in a row, a couple of them, one of them with a very tiny body and stems on both all over. That's what you talk about congestion. And there's no rule that says you can't enter out of congestion, but congestion can trip you up, and you got to be real careful with it. I actually think this channel is a little bit higher. So when you actually get this correct up through here, you can see that leaves a little more gap. We're not quite getting back to the highs, and then we come up really short here. And so there's a good chance that you might get a break here. You don't know that for sure, but it's starting to give you some hints that we're losing steam here. We're losing momentum. You might still enter right there, but if you do and you realize you got trapped, just exit right there. But again, there's no rule that says you can't enter in congestion. But the problem is when prices break, congestion is just like a tiny range. When prices break out of that range, they're probably going to fail, just like they did. They broke out to the top side here, failed, come down, broke out the bottom side, failed, and came back in there still. I didn't draw the little congestion box, but there it is. And so you got to be careful trading in that stuff. And of course, when you entered this trade, you wouldn't have had but 3 bars, so it only looks like that. But you can clearly see some resistance across there. And the fact that we came up short and then really short, there's a good chance we're going to get another leg like that. So that's another clue that you might keep up with. In a strong trend, you're probably going to say, okay, any second entry I'm going to take, but at least make sure it looks like a leg, and that does not look like a leg down. This was the leg down, then you got to move up, and then the next leg is really just a break lower and turn back up. And that is a second entry by the counts, but it doesn't really look like 2 legs. So keep that in mind. And you see we just keep chopping, but we do get that second leg down. And then we actually get one more push before it reverses. Then you got this trade here. Notice you got a first entry, and then you get a failed second entry, which I don't really like trading a failed second entry there, but when you throw in the fact that it's a first entry, second entry, then with the failure, it's probably going to trap some shorts, and of course it takes on off and the trend looks strong again. Plus you're expecting a retest of the high regardless. That's been a real strong trend, so even if we do have a break here, we're probably going to get a retest. I went back and forth on this one because it looks very similar to this. So you could easily get trapped again. But the fact that you have the failure here too, I think that lends a little more credence to it. And I went ahead and marked it green, blue instead of green. And of course it does take off. And then of course you get your move up, break, new high. And it looks like we're going to sell off here. And it suddenly reverses. And you get 2 more legs up. This is a second, technically your second entry was here, but there's no setup, and this was like a third entry. And I think you need a lower high here or something, and you never get one. So you do end up getting 2 legs down, and then we're just chopping sideways. This is definitely going sideways, but at the same time, you can clearly see prices are crawling up this trend line. Look how everything's closing inside, and you got, you just basically what you have is flat resistance and then angled support, and it makes it, this is what they would call a flag or a pennant or something. And of course I don't believe any of that stuff because I understand what causes them. It's just support and resistance and angled trend lines, which are just angled support and resistance lines, and they're converging, and it's what causes it. I did like this trade simply because you can see we're still creeping up that trend line, and this is a little breakout pullback long. Now normally I don't like a breakout pullback because I'm expecting prices to fail, but this is a real tight congestion, and you can clearly see that trend line in play. And so with that breakout pullback, prices are probably going to continue on higher. And you probably at least get a scalp out of that. And maybe it may run all the way to the highs again. So for that reason, I like that one. And then you get another little two swing pullback, but it's after 230 there. So, but there it is. The other thing I wanted to show you was I originally drew my range a little tighter because that's all you needed. But in the big picture, if we make a measured move, the whole day is really part of this range. And I drew my support down right along that first pullback there. And so when it broke higher, you're looking for a measured move. And you can see we went just a little bit higher than that before selling off. So, and we like this channel here because we had the break and several swings to a new high, and it looked like we were going to correct, and then suddenly we keep going again. So you probably got another trend channel or some kind of trend that's set up. So draw it if you can find it. But there it is. Not much else I can say about today. So it's just it's a nice bullish day. Didn't quite close on its high, but it's closed close to the high. So we did have the 7:30 news, which we talked about. But anyway, not much else I can say about today. So I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so that'll wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Friday. So anyway, I will see you tomorrow, and we'll get our week wrapped up. And but as of now, I'm done. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.